Hello, everyone. We're back after a long hiatus on my channel. I have my excuses. I've been busy working hard for other people, such as my guest today. Caleb is back. I have also been working hard for the Scarlet Thread Society, doing many an episode there. So it has been something like maybe 6 months on here, but we're back, and Caleb, good to have you. Thanks for hopping back on.
Thanks for having me on. I'm always happy to talk to you.
Yeah, and I am first off, at least as of time of recording, a happy 250th anniversary, America.
Yes.
Fuck yeah.
Let's go America.
Let's go. I've been doing some Teddy Roosevelt posting today.
Nice, nice. Great
My
president.
guy, yeah. To hell with Spain. That's what I gotta say. And yeah, just to,
Being from Florida, we have a complicated history with Spain.
half
We
my
do
family's
we do we
Filipino, the other half is Anglo-American. We hate Spaniards.
listen. I have no Spanish blood in me. And as far as I know, that being said, growing up in Florida, you have to love Ponce de Leon.
I
You
mean,
gotta love Ponce de Leon.
the gumption, I like the gumption,
You gotta
right?
love the conquistador energy
The
and the
conquistador energy is fun. I
yes.
just yeah, it's like that meme, right? It's like man who hates Franco not because he was a fascist, but only because he was Spanish, right? Like it's like um in any case, happy birthday, America. You, as flawed as you are, you're my favorite country, the best country, and I am forever grateful that I am from this country. And I think anyone who isn't, even if you're not American, I think you should be thankful for America.
You said
I'm bull moose-ish on America too. Very Teddy Roosevelt style. I have great hopes. But we're not here to we just had to get that out of the way. We're here to actually talk about just something a little bit, perhaps on the surface more just fun, but I do contend actually there's some deep meaning to it. Tom Holland's 1985 classic Fright Night. To let people in behind the curtain just a little bit, this was part of a ham-fisted attempt on my part to force Caleb to start watching horror movies. And I had initially suggested The Witch, which by Robert Eggers, which is a great film, and he said it was too much, or it was too quick of a jump. So I said, "How about a horror comedy?" And I suggested Fright Night. I actually contend that Fright Night has some legitimately disturbing sequences.
some great body horror.
Though,
I'll give it that. Some
yeah,
great body horror was the makeup they're doing.
yeah, really good creature effects. It's interesting. I know that this might be a little bit of inside baseball here, Caleb, but we'll roll with it. I don't have you ever seen American Werewolf in London?
I have not.
Another great horror comedy with great creature effects. This movie comes out about 5 years, excuse me, 5 years after American Werewolf, and we'll have to do American Werewolf, you and I, in lead up to Robert Eggers' new werewolf movie. But it's interesting. I think American Werewolf rightly gets remembered for having such great creature effects by Rick Baker, but Fright Night is sort of a weird. It wasn't as big of a release. It didn't make as much money. It has really become a cult classic, though. So I really think most of the love for Fright Night has come in the preceding 40 years. It's 41 years old this year.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy to think of that. Um, I love it. I think I first watched it when I was in undergrad. I want to say my early 20s. I want to say something like that. I first watched Fright Night, and instant, like, this is a movie me and my wife watch at least once a year. So you, Caleb, though, had never seen it before.
Nope,
What
never
are your
seen it.
I'm more interested in your impressions because you are the newbie to this movie, but also to the genre, in many ways to the genre. And I don't
Yeah,
say that to shame you. I say that to just because it's like
it's a
from the
fact.
mouths of babes, right? Like this will be a blank assuming we believe in a blank slate, you're about as close to one as we can get for horror. So
Yeah,
if
I want to say before we get right
yeah,
into the film, the only quote unquote horror film I've seen was Edgar's Nosferatu. Was
which
I
is
don't.
pretty horrific.
It's unsettling, but I was never scared.
Okay, interesting.
So that's why that's Fright Night. I didn't think I was gonna like it, to be honest. I saw the trailer. I'm like, okay, a cheesy '80s film. Maybe Doc's just. I know Doc's older than me. Maybe I'm too young. Maybe
I am old. Yeah.
maybe Doc's older. I'm gonna have to like, okay, Grandpa, this is an okay film.
Yeah.
No, it's a great film. I fucking loved every scene. It was funny. I love the characters. I want to get into my favorite character is Peter Vincent and his
Peter
whole arc.
Vincent.
His whole arc is. I want a whole film about a TV actor who is a vampire hunter who gets called out to like a Make a Wish Foundation thing as a washed up actor, and all the vampires are terrified because they believe the movie or something.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
And of course, Robert Downey Jr. would have to play him because he'd be great at it. But
Yeah.
regardless, the concept of a vampire hunter actor being called in to fight actual vampires, that alone is a whole movie, and it's done so well in this. I wish there was more of a common trend because it's incredible.
Yeah, there is I will say it was a real sleeper, but it has there was actually a sequel to Fright Night that is quite good.
Yeah.
I really like the sequel. Maybe that makes me not as hardcore of a fan. I don't know. The sequel is getting a a Blu-ray release this year, so we might bring you back on for the sequel if you're interested. Same, a lot of the same cast. Roddy McDowall returns in the sequel as Peter Vincent, so you get more of his stuff. Yeah, so man, starting like it was like 2 or 3 years ago, my colleague Elliot, who sometimes also appears on the Scarlet Thread Society, we started doing a series of movies, on a series of discussions on meta modern films. And so we did Mystery Men. We did an episode of X-Files, and then we all got distracted. But I think in many ways, this is an attempt to reboot that or to get back into that because I think that Fright Night is an incredibly meta modern film. I don't think it was intended to be that way, but like any good art, like it just kind of falls
Mm-hmm.
into you start seeing some truths come through that I'm certain weren't intentional, but that's all kind of makes it all the greater. Um, yeah, Peter Vincent, we could just focus on him if you want, because he is kind in many ways. I mean, Charlie Brewster is the main character, I guess, right? And it's sort
Yeah.
of Charlie's um game of cat and mouse, sort of literally with Jerry Dandridge, played by Chris Sarandon, one of my favorite screen vampires, by the way.
Guy was including aura. He had so much aura in every single scene. And I was like, man, this is a great vampire. Then, of course, the vampire trope of, oh my God, my long lost love is reincarnated. Let me be extra horny on screen for 40 minutes.
Yeah,
They're
there's
so
some
horny, dude.
it's so horny. Yeah.
Vampire, every vampire, even I take it back. The only other vampire film I saw like the original Dracula, like the
Hmm.
old black and white one. And
Bella.
even that guy was horny. And it was
Bella
like the
Lugosi's horny.
30s.
Oh yeah.
What is with vampires being so horny?
It comes out actually of the Victorian Gothic. So vampires in the folklore are not originally well, horny is sort of a vampires in the original folklore, they might rape you to death. That was a way that you could be killed by a vampire. But I think of that as more just like violent, right?
Mhm.
Like, but the idea of like desire and stuff that comes really out of the Victorian Gothic. Um,
Because I mean
Obviously, every
the
single
club
vamp.
scene.
Yeah, the
Also,
club scene's
I
great.
love the
Yeah,
club is just called the club. By the way,
yeah, the
the
club.
nightclub was just called the club. Incredible. Um, there's a dance sequence between the vampire. So real quick for the plot. A guy loves horror films. This is good. I would say opening up was the guy trying to get in the girl's pants. I don't
Yep.
know much about horror, but that seems like a classic horror trope.
Oh yeah.
This the monster's gonna come out soon. Um,
Well, it's the punishment, right? Like
yes.
there's the promise and the danger of sexuality is very much a thing in horror films, for sure. Yeah, yeah.
I I will say this has made me want to go back and watch maybe older horror films. But I doubt the effects on some of the older films are really gonna like seal into my brain.
Right.
Like growing up, I saw a scene from Nightmare on Elm Street, haunted me. To this day, I'm still freaked out by Freddy Krueger.
Oh, oh yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but I was gonna say the scariest movie monster of all time is Freddy Krueger.
The
Just
idea of
died out.
dreams killing you is a terrifying thing because
And
everyone has to sleep. Yeah.
someone who has lots of nightmares is already even more terrified. When you have nightmares of Freddy Krueger, that's like the worst kind of nightmare you can have.
Yes.
But the guy, one of the scenes I did love about the film, one of my favorite scenes, is when the girlfriend and his friend, Evil, that's his guy's name apparently,
Evil Ed.
Evil
Yeah.
Ed, they go to Vincent, who's the actor who plays the vampire hunter,
Hmm.
and they're like, "We'll give you $500. Come do a fake vampire test, and we'll
Yeah.
we'll prove the guy's not crazy." And they call him up, and he goes, "I'm a reborn Christian. I can't be around crosses."
Yep.
That'd be dying. It's
Yeah.
like, oh my God! If I had a pause, I was laughing so hard. This is incredible.
Yeah.
And it leads to me like the best scene in the whole movie is when he drinks the holy water, non-holy water, everything's
Yep.
fine. Vincent's walking away, he pulls up his little meal, he checks the meal, and there's no reflection, and he drops it, and it's like, oh, the kid, because I watched it. I'm 27. Grew up on movies like the '05 early aughts where the trend, or if it came out, if the movie came out in '05, the trend would be the main guy's actually schizophrenic and
Right,
Peter Vincent is the therapist and there was no
right,
vampire. It'd be
right.
very, very lame. So I kind of I was watching it with that in mind, like, okay, is this really going to be a monster film? Is there really monsters in this? And the mirror was like, okay, yes, the kid's not insane. Someone else seen it. This is a monster film. Let's go.
Yep.
Oh, so
Yeah.
much fun.
Peter Vincent is great. Peter Vincent's played by Roddy McDowall. So
That name sounds familiar. Who do I know? What
he
do I know
was
him from?
that if you've seen That Darn Cat, the classic Disney movie, he was in that. He's in a lot of TV and film from the 50s, 60s, and 70s. Um, yeah, his character is great. I think I had said to you, before we started recording, and it struck me this time, particularly watching it with knowing that we were going to do this discussion in mind, that Peter Vincent starts out not believing, like in anything. It's all just a show. He obviously
Mm-hmm.
enjoys being like the movie Monster Man, but he doesn't truly believe in it.
Mm-hmm.
He then has the he's using the mirror that he used in Orgy of the Damned or whatever it is. I love it that like he's like, this is the prop from Orgy of the Damned. Like he's
Yes.
just reusing his old props. It's really great. He realizes that Jerry Dandridge is actually a vampire. I love that line too. The vampire's name is Jerry. Yeah, it's great. Yeah, it's just great. Um,
That's a fun
he
film.
realizes vampires actually are real, and so then he tries to pretend that he doesn't believe. And then lots of spoilers. Ed gets turned. Ed comes to his apartment. He has to use a cross to defend himself from Ed because he dumbly, stupidly invites him in. You never, ever do that.
Like a joke we see in the text. Maybe BlackRock is buying up everyone's property just to protect us all from vampires.
It could be. It could
That's the
be.
real World Economic Forum is actually vampire killers. You heard
Or
it here
they are
first.
just vampires.
That too.
Never
That's
attribute to incompetence what can be attributed to malice, or they are just vampires and they want to own everything so they can go into everyone's homes. That
so
actually is
real.
probably more accurate.
Also, I
Yeah,
just looked it up. The guy who played the vampire Jerry was also the voice of Jack Skellington
yeah. I
in
was
Nightmare
gonna
Before
say so.
Christmas. I
So
did.
Chris Sarandon is the voice of Jack Skellington. Now he's not the singing voice of Jack,
Mm.
but he is the speaking voice of Jack Skellington.
Another film I've never seen.
You've never seen Nightmare Before Christmas?
No.
Me and Bulge did an episode a couple years back about that. It's a great movie. Also a movie about belief in many ways. Um, so so Peter Vincent then encounters evil in a
Mm-hmm.
real like evil Ed, like literally trying to bite him, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and perhaps in like a last ditch effort believes just a little bit in the good, and then the cross works. It burns Ed's forehead. Ed freaks out, runs away. Um, and so the rest of the film, at least for Peter Vincent's arc, is him struggling with this belief, right? So now he believes in evil. So he kind of like I think I said to you, he believes in the devil because the devil like literally shows up, as the devil tends to do, particularly in horror films. Shows up in a real corporeal sense, like in a real, it is there, like you cannot avoid him. Then he's just obviously this produces fear. It is called Fright Night. He's freaked out and has to basically LARP his way into virtue. And so he LARPs by pretending. So he was pretending to be a vampire killer, and then by pretending to have been a vampire killer for so many years, he then can become a vampire killer. Um, it's incredibly meta modern arc. Even though when he is confronted, particularly like when he and Charlie go into the house to try to the climactic battle against Jerry, which is great. He,
Jerry.
he cannot deny that evil is real,
Mm-hmm.
but like the cross doesn't work, right? And it works for Charlie. And what I love about the world is obviously every single vampire story has slightly different vampire rules. And the way that it works for us vampire fiction people, I love vampire stories are my favorite stories are vampire. I read Dracula in seventh grade and was like been hooked ever since. Like I love vampire stories. The way it works is you have to establish the rules of the vampire up front and then you run with it, right? And you kind of like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, so there's different types of vampires. One of the things I like is that in other vampire stories, all of the set to use a Catholic term, all the sacramentals kind of just work automatically. Like, oh yeah, crosses, they don't like crosses. Holy water, they don't like holy water. But this idea that you have to believe that that works for it to work is sort of rare. Fright Night
Mm.
is an example I always bring out in conversation of, in Fright Night, in a way, I wonder if Tom Holland was raised Catholic because I believe, now you correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Catholic man, that sacramentals, they're not sacraments, right? But they sort of they do not work ex opere operato, right? They work ex opere operantis, I believe is what the catechism says, although it's your church, not mine, so correct me if
I
I'm wrong.
believe, but I'm not an expert, but I believe that is the
Right.
case.
So they it's not like wafer, or it's not like baptismal waters. It's like, yeah, this is just holy water, but it points towards the sacrament, right? It points towards something else. So they are symbols that can have real spiritual power, but they don't work in and of themselves, right? And in this, one of the things I love about Fright Night is that that's how that is explicitly baked into how crosses work against vampires. One must believe in the true good and beautiful for that thing to work, and the vampire knows whether you believe it or not. um that is something that you do not tend to find in vampire fiction. You either find a
Hmm.
completely postmodern vampire doesn't care about the cross, or you find vampire is just inherently repulsed by cross.
And you get
Uh,
like what was the example? What's the justification Castlevania gave? Like that, the Reddit example of like, oh, they're just super advanced predators, and they can't look at the right angle without going crazy, and it's like retarded.
it's yeah, it's like you can get the real postmodern vampire retardation that drives me as a fan of spooky vampires, not glittery vampires, but spooky vampires crazy because it's like, come on, these are creatures
Mm-hmm.
of the night. So, and to be fair, I'm totally fine in vampire fiction with crosses just work. That's fine. I think that's great as long as you establish the rules, you run with it. But I also like this idea that one must believe.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's the Protestant in me. I even one must really believe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sola fide, anyone that if and the vampire knows that, right? Evil can tell when you're not doing the thing you should be doing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think it's a very despite this being an over the top 80s vampire flick, it's a very intelligent script. Like
Yes.
it requires a lot out of the characters, right? The vampires are quite difficult to kill. It's not like, as much as I love Blade, like I adore Blade, right? It's not just like you get a cut, you can just swing your sword around and then they're just dead, right? Like you actually
Mm-hmm.
really have to engage in spiritual warfare in order to kill the vampire. Um, and I love that. I love that aspect of it. In many respects, Fright Night treats vampires a little bit more like the movie The Exorcist treats demons,
Mm-hmm.
right? Where there's just this like intense internal struggle that then is reflected physically, like in the real world. I don't know. I love that.
No, I
Peter
think you're
Vincent
absolutely right on
Peter
that point.
Vincent has to not just believe in the devil, he has to believe in the good in God, basically,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's only when he believes in God that that any of the trappings, right? All of his little things that he brings with him even works in the film. And I love that. You see a lot in movies, there's tropes in vampire movies where you give in and you become a vampire. Obviously that happens with Evil Ed. That is also a trope of like,
Mm-hmm.
the despair that overtakes you and you become what is evil. um whether you wanted to or not, you are frail. Evil is quite powerful. Temptation is quite strong. It tends to win, and at least in movies, in vampire fiction, people tend, like when you're cornered by the vampire and he gives you a choice, usually people are just becoming the vampire. Like that's
Yeah.
sort of that is a trope. I think it has its purpose in the storytelling, but again, this idea that it requires some sort of personal transformation to be able to kill the vampire is wonderful. I think that's
I
wonderful.
I love I love how immediately after the guy gets out, the vampire escapes the first night.
Yeah,
You come back to his apartment the next day. They got Catholic things everywhere.
right.
Candles. I mean, I saw Saint Teresa. I saw a statue of Saint Teresa of Lisieux. I'm like, how does he end up here? He just went, I don't know what store he went to. Also, I will say I love the fact that he's like a vampire, make my foot Evil Ed, give him $8 to give me information because Google does not exist. Let me just go
Right.
bug the guy named Evil Ed. I'm sure he knows about vampires.
Right. Yeah, you have to recognize that there is no internet, right? This is a
Yes.
pre-internet world, and you can see how this is another thing I love. Have you ever seen the movie Rear Window by Alfred Hitchcock?
I've never seen a Hitchcock film.
Okay, I'm not going to spoil anything about that movie.
Okay.
I will say this movie, Fright Night, is basically a retelling of Rear Window.
Mm.
I actually I'm thrilled that it was made. I love both films. I'm kind of surprised that the Hitchcock estate didn't sue Tom Holland for writing this movie because it's so incredibly similar. The difference is basically like there's a vampire in this one. Um, but the idea too that like you some evil entity, whether it's a criminal or a vampire or whatever, commits a crime and a innocent bystander sees that. The evil entity knows that there's a bystander who has seen this. Nobody believes the innocent bystander.
Mhm.
And so it's like there's this mental kind of chess match, right? Between unstoppable force, immovable object, something like that, right?
Mhm.
Like and that's just it's a story that really is kind of older than Hitchcock, but Rear Window with Jimmy Stewart, I would recommend wholeheartedly anyone watch if you haven't it's really good. There is no supernaturalness to it. It's very much more that Hitchcock suspense thriller, right? Like I don't even want to spoil the premise of the movie because it's quite good. Um, this is that with vampires in many respects, but it's like so one it expands that idea because now you have an unstoppable force that isn't just a criminal who scoffs at societies and God's laws. It's a literal creature of the night who can also shapeshift, make other minions that have power, right? It can do all of these
Mhm.
things, and it's versus a teenager and his friends and a washed up movie actor,
Yes.
right? Like it's there's just I don't know. I obviously I love this. I love this movie. It it I love how there is kind of I mean maybe this is a way we could take the conversation. So we've done an episode a few years ago now on Tolkien's fairy stories and the concept of eucatastrophe, sort of the
Mhm.
unexpected turn towards good at the end, and that is something this movie very much has going for it, right? Because if you look at the stats, the deck is very stacked against Charlie and his friends, against the fearless vampire killers, right? Against our heroes. I mean, for Pete's sake, like one of them is even basically turned into a vampire at some point, right? Like,
Mhm.
and so there's this like, how is at the end, how are our heroes able to turn it around, or do they even turn it around? And maybe that's what I'll
Mhm.
pass it to you, like because I think we started chatting a little bit about this. Like Pete, and we'll tie that back into Peter Vincent's redemption arc, right? Like because when the cross starts working for him, what is happening, right? It
Mhm.
seems like everything's lost, but the sun starts to rise, right?
Mhm. Of
And
course, it is that great scene where he didn't see you could see the vampire staying and you could see the background is a race guy and it cuts back to Vince and it cuts back to him and the sun's coming up slowly. It cuts back and it cuts back again and the sun's a little higher.
yep,
Incredible. Like there is some real cinematography in this that I was not expecting. Honestly, I was like, oh, okay, schlocky '80s film. Let's watch this. See some cool effects. I was not expecting some really good cinematography,
well,
but it's
Tom Holland planned the movie shot by shot
really
before shot by shot, not scene by scene, but literal shot by literal shot before
it
they
shows. It
yeah.
shows because there's so many scenes like when the vampire bites into the girl's neck and the camera pans around to the back
Yeah,
and you just see the blood. I mean, incredible. But on the part about Vincent, I would say the sun rising being like a symbol. Like, okay, he's found hope. He's found faith. He's in the cross will
right.
work now. I absolutely love that. Also, I love the confidence he has after killing Ed, well, quote unquote, killing Ed.
Yeah.
They like
Really kind of freeing Ed from the curse of being a vampire, right?
yes,
Like,
yes.
yeah. Yeah.
And he has the box with some of us like this is from this props from this movie, this props from this film. We're gonna find it. We're gonna do this. We could save it before dawn. We know what we're doing. It's just like the movies. And the moment he walks in, holds the cross up, it doesn't work, and he's right back to being scared of everything.
Yeah.
I love that like the confidence. I expect him to go in there fully confident. I didn't. And when the cross did it, okay, he's still not fully on board. He still has a belief in the negative, but no belief in the positive, like you said, and it's wonderfully shot.
Yeah,
It's
Roddy McDowell.
also him just pulling out the gun and shooting that familiar.
Yeah, for
just,
shooting the just capping familiars. It's
starts
just
capping.
great.
I'm just like, nope, we're gonna shoot you now.
Yeah, there's that moment where his fear and his doubt reach like a fever pitch, and he just there's nothing else to do but to have radical belief, right?
Hmm.
Which is there is something very deeply theologic. There's deep theology to that, right? Like there comes the point of despair, and you
Hmm.
can become the familiar. You can either be killed or become another vampire or a familiar and give in, or you can just have radical belief and just be willing to this is, I mean, maybe this is just me talking as a spooky Calvinist, but there's this point of like radical belief that equals, in this case, maybe some sort of real physical violence, but like spiritual violence against evil, like a true hatred of evil, but not because you're
Hmm.
scared of it, but because you love the good and you
Hmm.
hate what the evil's doing. And it's like you're willing to take, it's very Kierkegaardian. I know we've talked about that recently.
Hmm.
You're just willing, you have no choice but to go like all in on the good because it's the only way that there's even a chance that things turn out better. Obviously, spoiler, it does. But you might have to cap some familiars in the face. I mean, right? Like
It's actually that's a you know more vampire lore than I do. Are familiars like a constant thing? Because I feel like I don't always see familiars in vampire stuff, but they seem like
familiars.
all the good vampire films have familiars.
So
Would have a Winfield, you know?
this comes out of Renfield.
Mm.
This comes out of Renfield. The idea. So I have yet to find any mention of a familiar inside older Eastern European vampire lore. The idea of a Renfield comes. I have to say it like Alex Jones. You got these Renfields coming around for the psychic vampires. Uh, you find the Renfields. You do have to find the Renfields. Renfield is a great character in Dracula,
Mm.
by Bram Stoker, who is really one of my favorite authors of all time. And but that like many things with Stoker's Dracula and Stoker's vampires in general, a lot of it was invented by him, which is
Mm.
fine. Again, you establish the world, you establish the
Mm.
rules, and you run with it. It makes perfect sense why you would need to have a minion who can go
Mm.
out and be mortal amongst mortals, right? Um, I will say the idea of a compromised human is pretty ancient, right? I mean, this is essentially what witches and warlocks were for the Middle Ages, right? Where you had the human who was in league with Satan, who was going and doing satanic things in a corporeal way, right? And you can, as a Catholic, can speak to this more, right? Like, because demons don't have physical bodies, so you need someone who has a physical body to go do physical things for you.
Mm.
That's really old, and that idea predates Christianity, right? That's a very
Mm.
ancient, I would argue that goes back to really like humans around campfires in Stone
Yep.
Age. Like the idea that a human could give themselves over to evil and then become a physical conduit for spiritual evil. That is really old. But the idea of a vampire needing a familiar, I believe, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, somebody in the comments, but I really think that probably comes from Stoker. It's a great literary innovation though, because it accounts for like, well, if, in the book, have you read the book Dracula at all?
I've not.
In the book, it's a slight spoiler. Dracula can't cross rivers and water at certain times. And so you need a human and or humans to carry him in his casket over water and to transport him around, if you will, because he's a little bit more hemmed in than a lot of the movie versions of Dracula have. So
Hmm.
yeah, but the idea that a familiar could have be some sort of undead in and of themselves is somewhat more rare. And
Hmm.
that's, I think, something that I can't think of another
I have to say real quick.
movie that really has that, where the familiar himself is somehow not quite vampire but not quite human. I liked that, right? Like he's hard to kill, right?
Dude,
You have to stake him in the heart just like the vampire.
the body decomposing while he's
Yeah,
standing there, incredible effects, just incredible.
totally.
Anyone listening, go on YouTube. Just watch the whole film. First of all, if you don't want to watch the whole film, go on YouTube and just watch. Type in Fright Night, uh, melting, I guess, and it'll probably come up
Yeah,
because it's incredible. They do this thing because I love one thing to do. They have the camera on him, and it's one like mask puppet kind
right,
of thing. Cuts back to their reaction, cuts back slightly different, more melted because they couldn't just actually have it melting because there's a guy there. So they cut
right.
back and forth to show the mask changing, and they show his hands melting. And it's incredible. It gives the full effect without having to use any like CGI or any modern technology. Just makeup and camera work, beautiful.
The editing, I was struck by this, and I watched the movie last night with my wife because she really likes it too. The editing is so well done
Mhm.
Um, particularly like when Evil Ed is in wolf form and
Mm.
leaps at Peter Vincent, and he sort of accidentally, really truly accidentally stakes Evil Ed through the heart with like the chair leg or whatever it is. It's a
Mhm.
complete accidental, which is also kind of great, right? Like through accident, quote unquote, although there are no accidents, right? Like he's
Mhm.
able to kill a vampire sheer just luck, quote unquote, but it's probably more like providence, right?
Mhm.
Um, that whole scene where then he flies off the balcony in wolf form, hits the chandelier, and hits all of that entire scene. That scene, oftentimes, really easily could have been just a gobbledygook of like implied motion, but you actually somehow see this wolf flying, even though it's cut in a way where they're really not showing you much. Very well edited film. And the fact that, like Tom Holland planned the film out shot by shot beforehand makes sense, right? He
And
had this
he was old.
image.
He was like negative 75 years old before he played Spider-Man.
Yeah, exactly. There's a few different
I
Tom
gotta say
Hollands, right?
the amount
Yeah.
of Tom Hollands. I mean, I made this comment when he posted about this on Twitter, but there's Tom Holland director, Tom Holland historian, Tom Holland the actor, Tom Holland the knight in English history. There's too many Tom Hollands. We
There's
gotta
too many
start. We
Tom
gotta get.
Hollands.
Much as I love these new Spider-Man films, we gotta get rid of that Tom. That Tom's gotta go.
I'm a Tobey Maguire because I'm a millennial and
Listen,
I would just yeah.
I like these new Spider-Man films, but for me, it's Tobey Maguire. I grew up on Tobey Maguire. That's my Spider-Man.
The Raimi Maguire films are quite good. Yeah, we should yeah.
We really should talk about those sometime because I can
They're
go
they're
on for
pretty theological. I mean, so
this.
so Raimi's Jewish, but has some interesting Christian themes
Mhm.
despite all that. I don't know how religious he is, but like it seems almost intentional. Like he
Any
must
scene
be
with Aunt
trying to
May,
say something here. Like
any scene with Aunt May and Spider-Man 2, I could go on for hours about how beautiful and what shot it is and her lines and what they mean. I mean,
well,
this not a bad scene in Spider-Man 2.
yeah, Spider-Man 2. That's the one with Venom, right? The goo, right? Like
No, that's one was Doc Ock. Spider-Man
that's
2 was
Doc Ock.
Venom.
Okay, yeah, it's been so long since I've seen them. Yeah.
Alfred Molina, one of the greats.
Alfred Molina's great. Yeah, yeah,
One of the
yeah.
great. I will say, anyone listening, because I find this funny. During the filming of Spider-Man 2, Alfred Molina was either afterwards or just before was doing Fiddlers on the Roof. Fiddler on the
Oh,
Roof.
interesting. Yeah.
And so there's a scene of him with the octopus arms doing the number, doing one of the numbers and songs with the octopus arms making the dance motions. You can find it on YouTube, and it's very, very fun. It's like, if I was a witch man, and the claws are doing the not doing the
That's
music for
funny.
him. It's great. Go look it up on YouTube, anybody. But no, back to this movie.
Yeah.
Again, Peter Vincent. Even I want to say, whoever did the costumes and makeup, costume designs, and the clothing for everyone looks incredible. The '80s had such fashion and style. The
Well,
fits were beautiful.
like you
Everyone had
said,
aura.
Jerry Dandridge, man, holy crap. Chris Sarandon, like he is one of my favorite film vampires. He's so in love with being a vampire. He's like,
Yes.
yeah, I'm cursed, I guess, but I fucking love being a vampire, right?
He
Like,
is eating up every scene he's in. He's just magnetic. It's beautiful.
yeah, and I love this whole again, this is very much drawn in from stories like Rear Window. I know you know that I'm a vampire. What are you gonna do about it? Nobody
Yes.
believes in us anymore. And they're
I,
not gonna believe you,
I
right?
will say
Like,
the cut from Evil Ed telling him, just don't invite the vampire into your home and won't get home. It's like, Mom, the mom
yep.
invited the vampire.
Yeah,
was
it's just
so funny.
like I can come back anytime I want. It's like it's just great. Yeah. You know, Chris Sarandon, I was watching just before we recorded here an interview with Chris Sarandon. He is going strong at 80 whatever he is now.
Wow.
He he's a great West Virginian. We like our Appalachian actors. He was talking about how like he was kind of like now this is his words. I think he said something like I was so fucking full of myself. I thought I'm a stage actor. What am I going to do being like this like vampire thing? But he read like the script and was like this is an amazing script. Like this is an amazing story. It's he still gets so I mean obviously he was Jack Skellington and we
Mhm.
all love him for that. But he's also Jerry Dandridge the vampire, right? Like he just is like brilliant. He this is why you should cast stage actors. This is sort of I guess the point I'm trying to make is you know stage actors are really good at acting in films.
Yes.
A low hanging fruit example is Willem Dafoe.
Well, I'll just say this for anyone this I'm a big defensive.
Speaking of Spider-Man,
He
Willem
was Spider.
Dafoe, right?
Willem
Like
Dafoe. Speaking of stage actors, this is why I think Star Trek actually the only reason Star Trek did within the show's work from Next Generation to Voyager, they hire stage actors. That's the only reason they can deliver those lines and not be terrible. Modern Star Trek only hires like regular actors, and they all suck.
Yo,
The
yeah.
stage actors are just there's a way to deliver lines. There's gravitas to it. It's never overdone. It's always reserved. It's always just the right facial expressions. But I mean, I'm a huge fan of. I do love stage actors. I love going down to the theater and actually seeing shows. We have the in Lakeland. Sorry, in Orlando, the Orlando Shakespeare Theater, which has been tragically renamed Orlando Shakes to appeal to the urban population. Damn same, I know.
Yeah.
Growing up being homeschooled, we got cheap tickets for field trips there. So my mom would buy tickets for the whole family for like $5. And I went there. We saw my first play. I saw Caesar. I saw Shakespeare's Caesar. I was like 9 years old, and I'm watching it. And Mark Antony walks out, and it's this big bald black guy. And I'm like, man, this guy's voice sounds familiar. Let me check the playbill. It's Michael Dorn.
Michael Dorn.
Michael Dorn just walked on stage in Roman toga and starts quoting Shakespeare of Mark Antony. I'm like, oh my, this is the greatest moment of my 9-year-old life.
Yeah.
It's you can't beat a good stage performance. You can't beat them. You can't beat a good stage performance.
You know, I'm trying to think of currently working actors or recently working actors who are, film actors who also have stage. I think of Willem Dafoe. I think of Charles Dance. Um,
Alfred Molina, I think, does states as well.
Molina, yeah.
Yeah.
It's weirdly few though. Like
Yeah.
it used to be more common, I think, for stage actors to kind of get quote unquote poached into film. And I don't know, that's probably connected to like the enshittification of everything, the lack of like serious actor craft as an idea and a concept. I think this is probably just related to, I don't know, like I feel like everything is just Zendaya at this point, right? Like it's like the
But
Zendayification of everything where you're like,
I hate Zendaya so much. I am 100% sure she is a Jewish plant to create a new sex icon or sex symbol that is only there to appeal to like, hey, ethnically ambiguous skinny women who will go tell the man that you ordered no pickles. See, I hate everything about her, and we need Harvey Weinstein back. He never would have let
tell
this
us
happen.
how you really feel. Yeah.
I see. We can't go on because
I just bring her up as the example, right? Like, I mean, I'm not here to shit on Gen Z, but millennials are in no position to do that. But at the same time, I just don't know what she brings to like acting, right? Like, and she's just a stand-in for like this entire really mediocre kind of, public
former
celebrity.
Disney actors.
What's that?
Former Disney stars turn movies.
Former Disney stars. Yeah. Well, what's interesting is that Roddy McDowall was a former Disney star, but he does great as Peter Vincent, and I maybe that's just natural talent. I was saying to Robin as he was killing vampires, like Roddy McDowall really was our gay, like clearly gay, but like he was like our gay. He was like taking on the forces of darkness. Okay, like so he's like he gets a pat, like he's our gay, right? Like don't touch him because he's great, right? But it's just the media, everything is mediocre now, and like everything's sort of like vaguely ambiguous about everything, but nothing really matters, and I don't know, right? Like it's such a shame, and this is maybe just that I'm getting older. But I've kind of felt this way even since I was like a teenager. 80s movies are great. 80s films are really, bare minimum, they're just fun. And that's what I love about Fright Night. Maybe this is the way we can start wrapping it up. Is it's like it has some depth to it that you would maybe not expect. And I think you, Caleb, didn't expect that. I did that on purpose. I was trying to get you into a movie that like, hey, there's something a little bit more here, but we'll just let him notice it. You're good at noticing things. Right. But like 80s movies also just have a sense of fun. Like that you could have, let's have an extended dance sequence between a teenage girl and a centuries old vampire.
I want to say an aggressively horny scene.
Exactly.
Like I had called my dad and said, "Dad, you're gonna love this film. We gotta watch it tomorrow." And then I got to the club scene. I'm like, maybe not. I don't want to.
Maybe not.
It's so aggressively horny. And maybe I'm just such a zoomer and I've grown up only with the quote unquote safe horny loser faggot.
Yeah, I think this might be safe horny. Yeah.
I'm just when I'm confronted with actual horniness, I'm just like, whoa. But still,
there has to be real temptation, right? Like for it to be a real spiritual threat, there has to be real temptation, right? Like
I will say, she folded way too quickly.
Well,
I'm gonna give
yeah,
that into vampire mind magic
the
because
glamoring. I like to bring him up a lot, whether it's on your show or on my show. Martin Luther talks about like God doesn't save fake sinners, which does not mean, and everyone misquotes Luther, oh, you sin boldly, well, you should sin. No, 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 no. He's saying don't lie about being a sinner. Don't pretend that your sin is small and trivial. Don't trivialize these things. He's saying acknowledge, which is to say confess and repent, which is confess them, right? That's the idea. Don't pretend like it's a small thing because you can see this in Fright Night. The devil or his minions love to say, "Oh, it's not a big deal at all. It's just a little dance, right? It's just a little dance. Now you're a vampire." Okay. So,
there's
right?
a
Like yeah, yeah.
there's a Jewish quote from one of these old Yiddish quotes, and I won't try to pronounce the Yiddish because I can't. But it's if you're gonna eat pork, eat the whole hog.
Yeah.
Which is, I actually think that's a pretty good. It's a good slaying. If you're gonna do it, acknowledge it for what it is, and just go for it. Don't try to beat around the bush. Don't try to say, "Oh, it's not a big deal." No, it is a big deal. And if you're gonna do it, do it. Don't half-ass anything. I'm very
Yeah,
opposed to half-assing
that's
even
the
bad
Tony
anything.
Soprano approach, right? Like if you
Yes.
just
Well,
could
listen, Tony
just
Soprano, great Catholic.
yeah, good Catholic Tony Soprano.
Listen, I can never say her name. Uh, what's his wife's name?
Carm, Camilla.
Yeah, Camilla.
Carm. Yeah.
When Camilla wanted a divorce, he said, "Hold on." He went, "Hold on now. We're Catholics. We can't get divorced."
Exactly.
Which is,
I will say, I know we're at our time here, but I will say, and it's ultimately not an episode about this, but I've started watching the show for
oh
the
hell
first
yeah,
time, and I'm enjoying it wholeheartedly. But
so good.
this show is making me even more turbo Protestant. I'm like, oh, because the level of self-deception. Well, I go to
Yes,
mass on Sunday, so it's okay. I'm like,
you're
your
gonna,
husband
dude.
kills people who don't pay their gambling debts.
I
I don't know what to do with this level
there's
of
a
self-deception.
there's a scene later in the show. You get
Don't
to it
spoil
if you.
it. Don't
Okay,
spoil it.
I won't
Yeah.
spoil it. You're gonna love it though. You're gonna see a character come up. You're gonna text me, but like, this character makes me hate Catholics.
Well, here,
You're gonna see him.
again, I don't hate Catholics. I have issues with your leader, your dear leader. And I feel like, you know what? We're not going to get into it, but I'll just say the past week has let me know that Catholics also have a problem with their dear leader, and it's very interesting to watch happen in real time. Uh,
The SSPX trads. I can't stand them.
no, I understand the concept of the annoying trad. I totally get. We have those too, but it's just in general, like I don't wish disorder on anyone, but it's interesting. Like we're like imagine if we had computers and internet during the Reformation. Is all I keep thinking about. Like right, like holy crap! Like it was it's just to be able to watch it happen in real time. You're like, whoa, what is happening? And anywho, we'll have to talk about that probably on your channel or maybe never because it's probably not a non-issue. I don't even know what's going on.
Me,
Anyhow,
so I listen. I'm the kind of Catholic who goes, "Why would I? What's the point of being? What's the point of going to mass if you're not in communion with the Pope?" I'm that kind of Catholic. So when I see the SSPX guys, I'm like, "What's the point?" I don't. But that's me being,
yeah, that's you being you.
that's just me being like, I love the Pope. I have pictures of all the popes on my, not all the popes obviously, but the last 3 popes on my fridge.
That's fine. I'm gonna refrain because you're
I'm
on
a
my
Catholic.
channel, but I'm gonna be. I only say anti-pope things on your channel because
Yes,
right, I like to scandalize your listening audience.
it's
So
fine. And listen, screw my audience. Everyone, I get like 7 now. I love my audience. I have to say that I do love them, even if they never comment. And I would, because I can't prove they exist.
well, this
That's my
is
big
probably
say.
a good natural ending point. We've only talked about the movie, a few spoilers here and
Can
there.
I say one more thing about the
Yeah,
film?
go ahead. Yeah,
Actually,
yeah.
um, was what scene was it? Hold on, I was saying. The scene where she's on the carpet,
Hmm.
after he gets her out of the club. The way that scene is shot, she's the embracing. She's looking into his eyes, looking up, and his eyes, even when they're closed, they're always kind of angled downward towards
Hmm.
her neck. I love that. That even when they're embracing and she's trying to pull him away, you can see even when his eyes are almost semi-closed, he's still peeking downwards right towards the neck. And
This
I
is
just really like that.
this
That
is
it
Chris Sarandon's
focused on that.
This is Chris Sarandon, who's a great. I love Chris Sarandon. This is Chris Sarandon's sort of like stage chops, right? When you're on stage, you're used to doing these kinds of things, right? And you can even see when he's doing his sort of imperious vampire voice, you know, like you can tell that voice is trained to project in a theater where there's no amplification, right? And you can really tell that his ability to change vocal pitch and all these things is just great. Everyone should check this movie out. Fright Night is great. The second one is in many ways also really good. I recommend both movies. They're very meta modern. Vampires knowing that you know that they're real, but everyone else doesn't believe in them, and they're like, yeah, we're
Before we dip, I want to ask you because
mhm,
I'm now on a vampire kick.
good.
When we're done recording
We
our
hooked you.
second episode, you hooked me.
Hooked you. Yeah,
I want to attempt to rewatch Nosferatu because it's just I love it.
it's
But
good.
I've only seen two vampire films now. Sweet, the original Dracula in black and white, Fright Night,
Bela
and
Lugosi,
Nosferatu.
the goat. I love
So
Bela.
I will say that movie. I love that film. There's so many there was shots in that film I just love.
There's armadillos in that film.
But
Dracula apparently has armadillos in his castle. You're like, armadillos in Transylvania? That's fine. Yeah.
he got him imported.
He
Um,
imported armadillos. Yeah.
I actually there are two things I would say. One, I don't know what it is, but there's some new vampire thing out where the descendant of what's the famous Van Helsing? Some Van Helsing descendant captures Dracula to run studies on him, and his lawyer shows up to bust him out. Have you seen that?
No, I have not, but that's
His lawyer shows up, and they're like, "Aren't you creeped out that your client has been alive for over 189 years?" He goes, terrified. But you see, being over 100 isn't actually illegal. You keeping them captive is. Dracula has rights.
yep. Well,
I have to see if I can find this in the team. But my second question was, what vampire films should I watch next?
so many. So I would say the original FW Murnau Silent Nosferatu is very good.
Okay.
You have to have patience for it. It's from an era, it's like 100 over 100 years old. It's very good though. I would say, I like it against my better judgment. The Francis Ford Coppola Dracula is good
Okay.
because Gary Oldman is good as Dracula.
Is he
As
ever
a
bad?
mo- as a movie, I really love and hate that movie simultaneously. I would say those two. If you're up now, I think I contend you can and still should enjoy this movie. Lost Boys is great. Now, it's very gay, but I think it's still great. Lost Boys is an interesting film in many ways. I do love a good. You can actually see here, Caleb. Well, you can see. No one else can. I'm actually wearing a Lost Boys shirt right now. Yeah, right now. So I
Nice.
really like Lost Boys. Despite Joel Schumacher being very gay, it's still a fun movie. Um,
Oh, it has Keith
Kiefer
Sutherland in it.
Sutherland's in that. Yeah,
I'm sold. I'll watch that. I'll watch
it's a
that
good
man in
one.
a movie.
You know what? How about this? Caleb, can we have you
Mhm.
back on to talk about Lost Boys? It's another really fun 80s vampire flick.
I'm down.
A
I'm
lot
down.
about temptation and resisting temptation. It's a lot about that.
I'm
Um,
absolutely down for that.
yeah, regardless of Joel Schumacher's private life, it still
It,
is a good film. I think
this
it's
is
a
like
good movie
I gotta
too.
say this real quick to kind of a personal note. I always get the Lost Boys and the Outsiders mixed up because when I was growing up, they'd be side by side in the DVD section of
Oh
Walmart,
yeah.
and so I was like, oh. So Outsiders must be a vampire film, or Lost Boys must be a gay movie or something. I kind
Yeah.
of like put in my
I
mind
mean,
combined them.
is that wrong? I don't know. Yeah, right. Yeah. I will say, I'm a big fan of it. I would also love to have you back on to discuss this if you ever want. The original 1998 Blade with my guy Wesley Snipes is a really fun and good. The Empiric Elite
I do need
Blade.
to watch that because I love Blade the combo character. I love Wesley Snipes. It's just it came out the year I was born, so it
You,
kind of slipped through the cracks.
it's I will say this. I might sell you on it with this. Despite Blade obviously being a black character and Wesley Snipes obviously being a black actor, the movie is very wigger pilled.
Yes, let's go.
The movie is very wigger pilled in many
Yes,
respects.
I have been called a wigger. I love my fellow wiggers.
Yeah.
Uh, but okay, so wiggle pill Blade. Okay,
Yeah,
I'm adding
Blade,
Blade, Lost Boys, there's Nosferatu.
Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula is very good.
Isn't that one like 4 hours long though? Isn't it like a
Would
super long film? No, I think
the
of a different
the
Dracula.
Coppola one is a bit long. Yeah, and
I've never seen a Coppola film, so this
yeah,
might be a
Coppola's
first
a
for
great
me.
director. For what obviously Godfather, right, is sort of his and Apocalypse Now. But the Dracula one is pretty for what it is, it's good.
Yeah.
Um It's interesting because actually there's a lot of bad vampire movies. I would say, how about, I don't want to make the list never ending because it could be for me. I would say the horror of Dracula with Christopher Lee. You have to watch at least one Christopher Lee Dracula movie. The first one, Horror of Dracula, is probably the best one as a film. You have to see Christopher Lee as Dracula.
I do love Christopher Lee.
Yeah.
I love Christopher Lee. So I would definitely be adding this one to my lists.
Yeah, Christopher Lee is really great as Dracula. He's very different than Lugosi. He's
Mhm.
very he kind of in many ways is, Lugosi is horny, I guess, in his own way, but like the I'm going to like take you now sexual vibe is very much a Lee thing. Lee's
Mhm.
Dracula really helped bring that aggressive sexual thing, overtly sexual thing onto screen. And so and this is the cool thing. Maybe this is a way to tie it up. Every single screen vampire influences the next screen vampire.
Mhm.
And so you can really see how, starting with Max Schreck as Count Orlok in the original Nosferatu, in many ways, Lugosi was acting against that. So even if it's a reaction against the previous screen vamp, there's always sort of this. Vampire movies are very much in conversation with one another.
Mhm.
And I think that's kind of, if you're a fan of the subgenre, it's fun to see how that, because this is the thing, is if you're goth enough to watch vampire movies for fun, you've seen a lot of vampire movies. And so directors have seen everyone watches each
Mhm.
other's movies. This is
Mhm.
just how it's kind of always been. So yeah, I would suggest those. So we get Nosferatu, Horror of Dracula, Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula, Blade. I think that those are those are, and they're all radically different types of vampire films. So
Okay. I look forward to
yeah.
adding all these. Listen, vampires are one of the things I'm least scared of as
Oh,
monster films
interesting.
go, because I'm surrounded by crucifixes
Oh, I see. Yeah,
all
well,
the
yeah, and
time.
you believe.
And
So
I,
it's
and I work with wooden stakes for a living, surveying. So I'm surrounded by wooden stakes, and I love garlic salt. So I'm surrounded by garlic, wooden stakes, and crucifixes. So vampires. Like, oh, if a vampire was real, then they are real. I do believe in monsters. And if a vampire was to show up, it'd be like, okay, I've been ready for this one.
well,
Any other monster, I'd be out. No.
aside from Fearless Vampire Killers, who is the nemesis of vampires? Werewolves, baby. And as we've established, I'm kind of something of a werewolf myself. And so for me, it's like I have this blood hatred against, like, my clan hates their clan, right? Like,
It's you're gonna hate this, but I gotta say because it's so funny to me. If anyone you're gonna you could say I'm like a werewolf. I'm like, okay, I picture that, I can get that.
I'm not a furry. I'm not a
If
furry. I'm just a werewolf.
anyone of my generation says werewolf, the first mental image is furry.
Yeah, I'm not a furry. I'm
So
just a werewolf.
I do find that every time you mention, I'm like, he's older than you, Caleb. You gotta remember this.
Yep,
He's
I'm
not
not I'm
thinking the
not a
same
furry. I'm
way.
just a werewolf.
It's a
Yeah,
werewolf.
and I'll add one more then. Underworld. You should also watch Underworld. Underworld's a great film.
Underworld. I mean, add it to the list.
Yeah. Werewolves versus vampires. And we all know that the vamps are the bad guys. So
Okay, the Underworld, the film series.
the
Oh,
first
I've seen these. My cousins used to watch these. They
the
always
first
look
one is the
terrible.
best one. They go downhill after the first one pretty quickly. So yeah.
Yeah, my cousins used to watch. They always just seemed to hyper stylized.
Oh, they're great. Man,
I do love a good hyper stylized film. Okay, adding that one to the list.
any of those movies, you have an open invitation. You always have an open invitation to come back on, but any of those ones, love to have you on to talk about.
Okay,
Yeah, I
I'll try to watch some. Probably watch. I'll see whatever one I can get for free on all my streaming services, so I don't have to rent another film. And
the
I'll watch whatever
most
one I can
fun,
find.
the most fun of those is Lost Boys.
Lost
Just
Boys.
pure
Okay.
fun.
I love Keith Sutherland.
Kiefer's great.
I grew
Yeah.
up watching 24, and so that's
24,
just
Jack Bauer.
yes. Keith Sutherland 24. Even his other stories, like Designated Survivor, he was great in that. Like he's just always great.
Yeah, he's really good. He sort of, Donald, obviously his father is sort of the bigger name, but
I
he's
have no idea who that guy is.
President Snow from the Mockingjay
That's his
series.
dad.
Yeah,
Wow, I
Donald
didn't know.
Sutherland, great. They're
I
both
didn't know
great
that.
Canadian actors. So yeah,
I always find it funny when I find out an actor is a famous actor dad. Like
yeah.
I just found out the guy, the Kraid from The Boys is related to Jack Kraid.
Oh
Yeah,
wow,
I didn't know that. I was like, oh, that's
yeah,
But hey, man, thanks for having me on. I do love
yeah.
talking.
Thanks for coming on.
You're my only monster movie guy I get to talk to.
I'm
So
a big
whenever you
monster
invite me
guy.
on, I'm like, let's talk some monster movies.
Horror is objectively my favorite genre. And I do contend, maybe this is a great way to finally wrap it up. As many people have said this, so I'll just, this isn't my ideas, but I'll just say it again. Horror is one of the few genres left to us in our postmodern wasteland
Mm.
that wherein evil is actually real.
Mm.
Supernatural evil exists and it wants you. And I think that it's one of the last enchanted genres. And I do think as we enter into reenchantment, I think horror can lead the vanguard for this. Again, recognize that evil is real, but until you believe in the good, it will get you. And I think that that's what Fright Night really has to say. So maybe that's a way to tie it all up. Caleb, thanks for being back on. Before I let you go, where can people find you if people don't know you already? Where I think a lot of people would probably watch this who also know your stuff, but in case somebody is a straggler doesn't know.
Sure. I'm on YouTube at the at Servile Aids, the distributist, poetry, quotes, whatever I want to talk about. Really, there's no real seam anymore. If I want to talk monster films, we'll have Doc on. We're doing poetry every once in a while, some history stuff, some philosophy, Catholic theology. It's just a vibe show, pretty much, for me to vibe with friends. I'm on Twitter at, actually I don't know my at anymore because I got hacked and someone changed the at and it
At
won't let me change it
Docklerfy, I
back.
believe it is.
Yeah, at Doppler5. Just type in Caleb Brown or White Trash Socrates and I'll come up.
Cool.
Um, but yeah, dude, real quick, they won't let me change it back. The guy used my one because I already changed my at once from Caleb Brown to at White Trash Socrates, and he changed it for the hack. It won't let me change it again, so I'm stuck with Doppler, which is awful. But
Yeah, maybe hackers are the real vampires.
I know because vampires are cool and Indians aren't.
This is true. You heard it here, folks. You heard it here. All right. God bless America and death to all vampires.
Absolutely.
And I think that that's how we can end it. Caleb, thanks again.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, yeah. Bye, everyone.